Ben McKee, West Rucker, Vols 247 here on Thursday of UTSA week, wrapping up the week's media availabilities. Just spoke with Josh Heupel, and we will start with the injury report. He said that Danico Slaughter, Tennessee starting corner, should be available to play, or expects him to be available to play. Cooper Mays classified him as a game-time decision, but said that Cooper and Gerald Mincey have both been with them throughout practice this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think we may have to reevaluate what with them means. I mean, it could be like they're in the building. I've said this a lot. Josh Heupel speaks the truth on just about every topic, or he won't say anything except for injuries. That's the one thing where even last week with Cooper Mays, before the Florida game, he kind of changed up his words a little bit to make us think, oh, maybe he is going to play. Well, he fooled us on that one. So I remain very skeptical that Cooper Mays will play. We'll see. I just don't see that happening. But the other two, I think you can see them out there.
Absolutely, and sticking with the offensive line, I know Joe Milton was kind of the theme at the beginning of the week and right after the loss to Florida, but it seems like the attention rightfully has been shifted to the offensive line, and getting Gerald Mincey, getting Cooper Mays back would be very, very helpful. But also, I asked Josh Heupel about maybe some of those younger guys. When could they be available to potentially help? And he said that the guys that are playing, they need to perform, but those guys that are developing, they need to continue to be ready, because you never know when your number is going to be called.
They do, and I've said this on just about every platform we have, that if you go back and watch that Florida game and you identified Joe Milton as the biggest problem Tennessee has offensively, or even one of the top 3 or 4 problems Tennessee has offensively, I don't think we're watching the same thing. I think Joe Milton could play better. I think everyone on that offense could play better. But the guys who really need to play better are up front. And if that's going to be the veterans kind of getting things in gear, or if that's going to be them moving out of the way and letting some of the kids come in, whatever it's going to take. Because Tennessee's still playing for a lot. It's a weird SEC this season. A lot of things could happen. And Tennessee's nowhere near this whole just play them to play them mode. But they're playing for a lot right now.
And with Joe, he was asked about Joe and kind of handling the criticism, and joked that he never took criticism when he was starting quarterback at Oklahoma back in his day. But with Joe, the coaches continue to say, like, Joe needs to be better in certain areas, but he's also doing a pretty good job of playing right now as well.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about the criticism of Joe Milton, people automatically go to some passes he misses, right? Like he's the only quarterback in the history of the game who's ever missed a pass here or there. But I think where he really actually could maybe improve is just tightening things up offensively, just a little bit sharper, just get everybody where they're going a little bit quicker. It's not always his responsibility to get everybody where they need to be, but he is the one leading the ship, right? So whatever you got to do to get guys to lock in, maybe some of his happy-go-lucky stuff, while it's good most of the time, maybe sometimes he needs a little bit of that kind of focused, sharp mentality, and I think that's something that could help.
Yeah, and lastly, I think the other thing that fans and media members will be watching for this week, and even Josh Heupel and Tim Banks themselves, is the tackling, because that was such a big issue on Saturday against Florida. Josh Heupel continues to emphasize that is something that they always work on, obviously.
Yeah, it is, and there are some guys who miss tackles in that game against Florida who don't usually miss a lot of tackles, and I think you don't give them a free pass, but you say, okay, most of the time you make those plays. There are some other guys in that game who miss tackles who routinely miss some tackles, and at that point it's like a kid kind of putting his hand on the stove. It's going to burn every time, right? At some point you got to not put your hand on the stove, so they're going to work on that. They're playing the guys they think give them the best chance to win, but it might be time to make some tough decisions there.
Absolutely, and Saturday will be a nice test for everybody involved with Tennessee's football program as they gear up to play UTSA at 4 p.m. Eastern on the SEC Network, and we will have plenty of coverage of Saturday's game up at GoVols247.com. He's Wes Rucker, I should say. I almost fumbled your name like I do Patrick's from time to time, and I'm Ben McKee.